is replaced by bursary together with scholarships, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I need your protection. There seems to be higher consultations in the House.
Honorable Mbandi and your trio.
I thank you. I thank you for your protection, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker.
And wind up, you have made your point.
Honorable Speaker, if this is left unattended, I can assure you less than 20% of our university students are going to report to college, Honorable Speaker. When there was capitation, there was a level of certainty in terms of payment of school fees, Honorable Speaker. Now that has now been left to the discretion of HELB and other people within the education ministry, and thereby leaving all these students not knowing whether they will qualify or not, Honorable Speaker, because again, there is no set criteria as to who qualifies to get either scholarship or the bursary from the ministry, Honorable Speaker. If we do not act as a House, and this House has never thrown its hands in the air as a surrender, we are afraid we are going to lose so many brains that ought to have been plugged into classrooms within the university precincts are going to be languishing out here, Honorable Speaker. Unlike during our time, we were a bit fortified on several respects. The current crop of students, Honorable Speaker, are quite delicate and very vulnerable. I do not want to see a situation where we register several cases of suicide by students who cannot access university education, Honorable Speaker. This House has what it takes to rewind and bring back the capitation so that what we have been used to, paying between 16,000 and 35,000 shillings a year, that is affordable. The amount of fundraisers that are being organized now by university students are mind-boggling, Honorable Speaker. So this House, I call upon your direction, Chair, or Mr. Speaker, to give direction so that we revert back to capitation and our students can now have certainty of joining university classrooms, Honorable Speaker. And I thank you for the opportunity that are listening here.
I will not allow any debate on that. Who is the chairman of education? Meli, is he here? Yes, Mother Ongare.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the indulgence.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you. And the issues I would like, before you direct it to the Committee of Education, anywhere there is a scramble, Mr. Speaker, there breeds corruption. Right now, the application for this model has to be through HELB. Some people don't even have IDs, Mr. Speaker. And what the IDs and civil registration services offices are doing is demanding money to actually get these IDs out. So, Mr. Speaker, this issue is of national importance. We have some minors that are supposed to join university. We need it to be clear to this House so that we can transmit it to our members. Because, Mr. Speaker, like in my constituency, I have a program I sponsor children in high school from Form 1 to Form 4. Normally, we would give them 20,000 to report to Form 1 and they'll be able to actually survive for a year. Right now, they have quotations and invoices of 300, 400,000 for courses, Mr. Speaker. This model needs better public participation, and this House needs to lead that process, Mr. Speaker. So I beg that you allow, as you direct the committee, that we get a comprehensive statement on how it's going to work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The matter being raised, that has been raised by Honorable Kello, is creating a desperate situation in the entire country. I had originally sought to even have a statement, but it did not work. Now, the portal that the university students are supposed to use to apply is completely jammed and they're unable to access, either for what is called scholarship or even what is called the loan, leave alone the household payments. Then another desperate situation is the fact that over 4,000 students who don't have IDs cannot access. Yet there's space in the original way where we could use the parent's ID to get the loan. And then furthermore, in this particular situation, the students have a deadline of 27th, Honorable Speaker. And 27th is just the day after tomorrow to close. So as you refer the matter, I would really wish that even there's an extension of the deadline so that the students can access the portal. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Mwakazi. Is it Mwakazi? The member for Undani.
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And this matter is a very important matter. Mwashako, yes. A very important matter to this country. I want to add what my colleagues have said. Another challenge, Honorable Speaker, that we are facing with students, there are students who have been placed to private universities, and they've been told that they will not able to access the government scholarship because they are assumed to be joining private universities. Therefore, they only qualify for HELB loans. So, Honorable Speaker, most of these students did not entirely choose to go to private universities, but now they find themselves in a quagmire, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that we, as government, must give out a statement, possibly requiring that the placement to universities and the time frame that students have to change from one university to another be increased to another date, and possibly, whereas universities are asking students to report from next week, they should shelve the reporting time until this issue is sorted, particularly the one that places students into different categories.
The portal is jammed. You have a large number of students because they're underage, they have no IDs, yet you need an ID to apply. What exceptions can you give to that rule? And the confusion between help and scholarships and whatever you call it. So the ball is squarely in your court, and I want you to find out from the ministry, since tomorrow is the last sitting day, I direct that you bring a statement to the House tomorrow at 3 when we take our sitting. Before you make your Thursday statement, you will make a statement on this issue so that you allay the anxiety and give direction and solution to the problem. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I will indeed endeavor to do that. Coincidentally, Honorable Speaker, this afternoon I was just sharing with my deputy here at 2:05. I was on a phone conversation with a constituent of the Honorable Kawanjiko from Kiambaa about a young lady who is turning 18 in March of next year, who cannot access the loan and can only access the university scholarship. And as much as we appreciate the new funding model, which would be more beneficial to the most vulnerable for our children, there is need for there to be clarity especially to students. I say they may claim that they have provided information on the portal, but the same portal is hanging. Therefore, there ought to have been a little bit of more public and civic education on the new funding model. And maybe one of the things we should ask the CS to be doing is to ensure that not a single student is denied admission into any public university until they resolve the issues that are pertaining now. And especially that issue of age and access to loans, Honorable Speaker, and I will be in touch with the CS to give a statement tomorrow. Thank you.
Very well. I want us to leave it there. Minority Leader, is it on the same issue?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. This is a different issue, and not so different, because, Mr. Speaker, I said yesterday, you recall...
It can be different and then not so different. Is it different or is it not different?
It boils down to the same issue of public policy. Yes. Mr. Speaker, yesterday you did give a directive to the Leader of Majority to come back to this House today with a statement on the memo, purported memo from KERA, or Ministry of Roads. Mr. Speaker, following the short debate on that matter here yesterday, in the evening I got numerous phone calls, inquiries from across the country, because the country was alarmed that money earmarked for KERA roads can be reduced. They could not believe what they were hearing. And yet, that is the lifeline, the lifeline for the poor inhabitants of our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter that cannot wait. I was hoping to hear from the Leader of Majority, but he hasn't come out to tell us exactly what happened. I would be asking Mr. Speaker if you can give him a chance to tell us exactly what is the situation. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, a message must be sent out to whoever is contriving, whoever is imagining, whoever is contemplating reducing monies earmarked for KERA roads by even assent, that this House will take drastic measures against any such person or authority. Mr. Speaker, this could be the first case of impeachment. I can tell you, it's a very serious issue. And therefore, I want to plead with you, just allow Honorable Chungwa to report to us what really is happening. Thank you, thank you.
Order. Order. Order, honorable members. Majority Leader, do you have the statement ready? Order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's indeed true the issue was raised yesterday by the Honorable Jared Okello, and we spoke at length about the issue.
Yes.
And I want to agree with the Leader of Minority that it is indeed an issue that is disturbing many people across the country. And in fact, even this morning, very many members raised it in the morning session asking if I had the statement today. But I will be giving that statement tomorrow, because I did speak to the CS, who is actually out of the country, and asked him that by tomorrow he must give a comprehensive report on why the shift and what that shift is anchored on, whether it is on the basis of reduced budgets to KERA, or whether it is on any law that may have been passed by any other house other than this house, because this House has not passed any laws that would alter those allocations. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, I can commit tomorrow afternoon, I will be giving that statement.
Thank you. Next order. We must make progress, honorable member. Let's dispose of honorable members order number 8 before we come back to order number 7 on questions. Sorry, members. I have not finished with statements. Honorable Harrison Garama Kombe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on standing order number 43-1. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to this standing order, I wish to make a general statement regarding the untimely passing on of Honorable Jonathan Katana Nzai, former Member of Parliament for Malindi North, the currently Magarini constituency in Kilifi County. He served from 1983 to 1997 on a KANU ticket. Honorable Speaker, it is with deep shock that I learned of the untimely demise of my mentor and friend, the late Honorable Jonathan Katana Nzai. That occurred on Friday, 18th August 2023. Honorable Speaker, the passing on of Honorable Jonathan Katana Nzai has robbed the people of Magarini, Kilifi County, and the country as a whole. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Katana Nzai was elected to Parliament 1983, and during his time, he fought for the pension of members of Parliament and presidents. His contributions and participation was commendable, particularly his contribution on various legislations which were insightful and enriching. His dutifulness made him stand out among the peers, thereby earning him admiration that elevated him to being elected 3 times to Parliament. Honorable Speaker, his passing marks a dark moment, not only for his family, but for the people of Magarini, Kilifi County, and the country at large. Kenya has lost a former candid legislature, devoted public servant, hardworking leader, and true son of Kenya, who endeavored to give everything for what he believed in with great courage, tenacity, and humility. He always reached out to elected leaders to consult for the betterment of the residents of Magarini, Kilifi County, and the Coast Region, and Kenya at large. Honorable Speaker, I express my heartfelt condolences to the family, the residents of Magarini, Kilifi County, and Kenya as a whole. May the soul of the departed Honorable Member Jonathan Katana Nzai rest in peace. I thank you. Honorable Speaker, I seek your indulgence to allow members to stand for a minute of silence in honor of the departed Honorable Member of this House. Thank you.
It shall be so. Members be upstanding. Honorable Wanjala, this is a solemn moment. You can't be on phone. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Katana Nzai, I served with him in the 7th Parliament. He was a wonderful representative of his people, and he was a very, very active member of this House. That was the time when there were no committees, so the only arena for expression was on the floor of this House. And he did his job well. Thank you. Honorable members, next is the Chairperson, Committee on Social Protection.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2D, and as the chairperson of the Department Committee on Social Protection, I rise to make a statement regarding the upcoming mass registration of beneficiaries of the Inua Jamii Cash Transfer Program in all constituencies in this country. Honorable Speaker, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs is responsible for implementing the Inua Jamii Cash Transfer Program, which targets older persons aged over 70 years, poor households taking care of orphans and vulnerable children, and persons with severe disability. The beneficiaries of the program receive a monthly stipend of Kenya shillings 2,000. Honorable Speaker, currently the program has a total number of 1,233,129 beneficiaries are enrolled to the program. However, due to natural attrition and graduation of beneficiaries from the program, the actual number of registered beneficiaries has dropped to 1,442,864 as per the July 2023 payroll. Honorable Speaker, in the line with the government commitment to progressively increase the beneficiary under the program to 2.5 million in the next 3 years, on 8th August 2023, the Cabinet approved the first phase of registration exercise for 500,000 new beneficiaries. Consequent to the said Cabinet decision, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs will be rolling out a mass registration exercise from 1st of September 2023. The exercise will take place in all constituencies and will target all older persons aged over 70 years and above, and households with vulnerable children and persons living with disability. Further, the enrollment of new beneficiaries, the registration exercise will target replacement of 190, 265. If you add to 500,000, it will be 690 to 65 beneficiaries who have exited the program at locations where the exit occurred. In addition to the prescribed eligibility criteria, distribution of the numbers of beneficiaries will be guided by the data from the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. Honorable Speaker, the exercise will be coordinated by officers from the Directorate of Social Development, Directorate of Children's Service, and the National Council of Persons with Disability at the regional, county, and sub-county offices, supported by the established community structures. To this end, Honorable Speaker, I wish to urge all members of this House to take this noble cause exercise very seriously and support it fully to ensure that the deserving constituents benefit from this program, to make sure that those vulnerable will be able to get the money, the 2,000 Kenya shillings, as from January next year. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Alice. Honorable members, before we go to the next, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's Gallery, Tinderet Educational Center and School from Tinderet Nandi. In the public gallery, AIC Cheribisi Primary School from Mgwen Nandi, Kabianga Primary School from Belgood, Kericho, Joel Omino Primary School from Kisumu Central, Kisumu, and Tinderet Educational Center, Tinderet, Nandi. On your behalf and on my own behalf, we welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Thank you. Next order, call out order number 8 we dispose of before we go to question. Hold on, clerk. Yes, Joseph. What is it?
The students. They come from my constituency.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
On behalf of all other schools, welcome the students to the.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this chance. Personally, I would like to welcome the students from my constituency, that is Cheribisi Academy, and also on behalf of the rest of the members of this house, I want to welcome the rest of the students that have been mentioned here, including Tinderet and the rest of the schools. I want also to single out and appreciate the head teacher for Cheribisi Academy, Mr. Chumba, for the exemplary work that is done. Cheribisi Academy is a performing school, especially in my constituency. It's a top school, and I want to commend the kind of work that they are doing, and also want to encourage the rest of the students who have come here today to visit the presence of Parliament, that the future is bright for you. Work hard, be disciplined, respect your teachers, and fear God. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Call out order number 8.
Order number 8, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2023, question to be put in third reading.
Yes, what is out of order? Betsimba?
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ninasema kwamba hukutupa nafasi ya kusema pole kwa ndugu na jamaa na marafiki wa Mheshimiwa Nzai. Kama ungetupa nafasi na sisi pia tupeleke rambirambi zetu.
Hiyo tumepita ndugu yangu. Tumempa heshima ambayo ni stahili wa kusimama kimya kwa dakika 2.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi nasema pole.
Na tunakubaliana na mbunge Bwana Kombe kwa ile rambirambe imetoa kwa niaba yetu, na tunamuombea Mheshimiwa Katana Nzai alazwe mahali pema. Sawa sawa? Not on the same matter, mama. What is it?
Mr. Speaker, wanted to bring to your attention in consultation. Mr. Speaker, there's an activity happening at the entry of this parliament, frisking of members of parliament in front of the students around here. Mr. Speaker, we want us to be respected by the sergeants.
Which entry?
At the entry of the chamber, Mr. Speaker. I've complained that it's not respectable for sergeants to frisk and more so lady MPs. Mr. Speaker, we have gadgets to frisk, to check our handbags, but not hands of the sergeants. Mr. Speaker, we are breaking for recess. Let your office or sergeant at arms buy a machine to frisk or check security, not their hands. I'm disappointed, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, we did agree here. Honorable member for Kilifi, we agreed here that we can sustain certain inconveniences for our security. And we did agree that the Sergeant at Arms office will be checking us for our own sake. And I did tell you that in 1985, a bomber killed the entire parliament of Lebanon. In 1987, a bomber killed 3/4 of the parliament of Iran. And that bomber was a member of parliament. It can happen here. And I want to urge you members, as long as the physical search on lady members is done by women sergeants and men by male sergeants, try and find a way of accommodating each other. Order, honorable members, order. We shall not compromise on your own security. Under whatever circumstances, what we will do probably, order, and when you travel, even in modern airports, in New York, in Dubai, wherever, you walk through the X-ray and you are also physically searched. It is not any different from here. Honorable Kajwang, I will not reverse the order for women to search men and men to search women. That I will not do. But if Honorable Kajwang wants to submit himself to be searched by women, so be it. Honorable members, at order number 8, the committee of the whole had finished. We now put the question and then I'll call the mover. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the whole House on its consideration of the Climate Change Amendment National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that the Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2023, be now read a third time. And I request the Honorable Gikaria to second.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Thank you. Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2023, be now read a third time. Can I put the question, members? Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that the Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2023, be now read a third time. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Clerk.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Climate Change Act 2016 and for connected purposes.
Thank you, honorable members. We'll go back to order number 7. Bring in the Minister for Sports, and we'll deal with that for 1 hour, then go to the Committee of the Whole. Honorable Minister, Honorable Babu Namwamba, welcome to Parliament. Honorable Majority Leader, Order. Order, Honorable Koyo and your team.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Minister is here on a special direction by the Chair, following points of order raised by the Honorable Wanjiku Muya and picked up by many members in the House about the treatment or lack of it of members of a special team that went to Berlin to represent our country. So, Majority Leader, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I begin, let me, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, note that following the issue that was raised on the floor of the House, as the Paralympics team visited the House and a number of members raised issues regarding the conduct of the Ministry of Sports and how they treated that particular team. There are also issues that emerge about other teams and other players within the sporting fraternity. And it was on that basis, Honorable Speaker, when you asked me to rise in my place and speak to the issue, I did commit that we will cause the Minister for Sports, who is here today, to appear before the House so that he may answer to the questions that are in the order paper, together with other issues that may have arisen. However, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, before I read the questions to the Minister, I am in receipt of a letter which was received in my office yesterday, dated 21st August this year. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from this noise.
Honorable Koyo and your colleagues. Order. Honorable Koyo. Honorable Koyo. You can hold a kamkunja out there, Honorable Koyo. You don't have to do it in the walkway.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying before I read out the questions, I am in receipt of a letter that was copied to me, addressed to yourself and the Speaker of the Senate, the Honorable Amason Kingi, from the Minister, Cabinet Secretary Sports, Honorable Ababu Namwamba. And Honorable Speaker, I want to beg your indulgence because this is a public document. I read it out to the House. And he says that the attention of our ministry has been drawn to statements made respectively by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah MP, Majority Leader, National Assembly, and Honorable Simon Cherargei MP, Nandi, Senator, which statements purport to cast aspersions on the Ministry of Youth Affairs, the Arts and Sports. Parliament is a hallowed house of record, rules and preeminent honor, with well-laid standing orders backed by age-old established normative customs, usages, and traditions. Among the immutable norms of parliamentary practice include non-admissibility of hearsay and not condemning anyone unheard and in their absence. Indeed, these basic rules of natural justice apply to Parliament in recognition of its eminent status not only as a supreme institution of representation of the will of the people, but also as a quasi-judicial organ. Further, Parliament has a formal oversight mechanism through the committee system that ensures all executive actions are checked within established official structures. Private members' questions and motions, as well as summons, are part of this oversight architecture. We believe our ministry is performing optimally in sync with the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We are also available and open to robust parliamentary oversight within the established official mechanisms, including through the relevant oversight committees of the August House. And it is in this context that the ministry writes to inform you, Honorable Speakers, of our readiness and availability to appear before the August Houses to respond to the specific issues raised by the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah MP, National Assembly, and the Honorable Simon Cherargei MP, Senate, at the earliest opportunity available as per the calendar of the House. Your kind indulgence is appreciated in advance. Please do accept, Honorable Speakers, the assurances of our regard, signed by Honorable Ababu Namwamba, EGH Cabinet Secretary. That letter was copied to the Head of Public Service and Chief of Staff, Felix Kosgei, myself, and the Leader of Majority in the Senate, Senator Julius Murgo, the Chair of Labor Social Welfare, Honorable Dan Wanyama, and Senator Simon Cherargei, MP, Senator Nandi County. Honorable Speaker, I have chosen to read this letter out because I find it extremely condescending on the House. Extremely condescending. And while I appreciate that the minister has opted to come to the House, he has appeared to the House on invitation by the House, not him inviting himself, as he seems to imply in this letter. 2, Honorable Speaker, even before the minister answers the questions that are before him, we would want him to tell the House which is this hearsay that he alludes to. 2, Honorable Speaker, or 3, the minister says is available for open, robust parliamentary oversight within the established official mechanisms, including through the relevant oversight committees of the House. In my reading and interpretation of that statement, it seems, Honorable Speaker, that the minister is alluding that he is okay to appear before the committees, relevant committees, but he has a problem with being oversighted by plenary. And it must be on record, Honorable Speaker, neither the Leader of Majority nor any member of Parliament is here serving at the whim of any Cabinet Secretary. We are here as the people's representatives to oversight Cabinet Secretaries and officers of government in line with our mandate as espoused in Articles 94 to 96 of our Constitution. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I found this letter rather condescending to the institution of Parliament. And when a minister says that we are raising issues on hearsay, it is only fair, not to the Leader of Majority or to the Honorable Anjiku Muhia who raised that issue and the other members who spoke to it. And Honorable Speaker, I do not care about what Honorable Cherargei may have said or might have said outside Parliament, whether on Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. But what is transacted within the plenary of this House, we do so rightfully as members of Parliament who oversight government. And Honorable Speaker, for the record, I want to state it to this minister and all ministers. As Leader of Majority, I do not hold brief for any Cabinet Secretary. I am hired by the people of Kikuyu and the members of the Kenya Kwanza coalition to lead them as a first amongst equals. But that does not take away my role to oversight anybody. From His Excellency the President, in the executive, all Cabinet Secretaries, and anybody, whatever cadre you are in the executive, I will hold you to account and I will oversight you. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I needed that to be made clear for the record, for this Cabinet Secretary and others, because some may be misguided to believe that as Leader of Majority, I am here holding brief for Cabinet Secretaries. When it comes to matters of accountability, I will hold you to account as if I am the Leader of Minority. I will hold you to account the same way a member of ODM or WIPA would hold you to account, because that is my mandate, Honorable Speaker. But when it comes to advancing and pushing government business and agenda in the House, I will do the same with the same gusto and energy. I will oversight you. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I wanted it to be clear that as much as I work for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance as the leader of majority and for the people of Kenya, that must never be misconstrued to mean that I will not hold any minister to account. The very reason the president moved the House to amend our standing orders is because none other than the president, who has hired cabinet secretaries, want these cabinet secretaries to be accountable to the people through their elected representatives. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, allow me to now read the questions as they are on the order paper.
Give Honorable Minority Leader 2 minutes. Honorable Wandai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I have just come to learn of that letter of 2 minutes ago. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, that letter should have been copied to me as the leader of minority. The cabinet secretary must be reminded that in this House, the order of precedence is such that after the Speaker and the leader of majority, it is the leader of minority. And anything transacted in this House belongs to the House, not to the coalition of majority or minority. That is one. Two, I want to advise the minister to be a good student of history. When you hear Honorable Kimani Chungwa, Honorable Senator Sirarigei, Honorable Deputy Speaker Gladys Boss speak in the manner they spoke, you should take notice. Because it reminds me of, I think, in 1989, when a similar narrative started here by the late Honorable Mwenje against the then Vice President Josephat Njuguna Karanja. We all know what happened in the end. But on a more serious note, this House can choose to transact its business in the manner it deems fit. It is not for anybody else to direct it how to go about transacting its business, including the business of inviting people to this House. Under Article 95, I think, sub-Article 2, this House has got the mandate to deal with issues concerning the people, issues of concern to the country. And there is no greater issue that is of concern to the country than the plight of sportsmen and women. And therefore, this House is in order to raise those queries that it raised in the manner it did. And therefore, I would want to ask you, Mr. Speaker, that even before we go to the issues, the substantive questions, the matter of this letter needs to be addressed. Yes, by way of you making a pronouncement, where this is the way we shall be proceeding in this House. You know, as a coalition, we have got issues with ministers coming here. I'm sure you know that, Honorable Speaker. But even as they come, we must set the record straight on how they are going to engage with this House and how they're going to treat issues that emanate from this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, anything that is pronounced on the floor of this House does not really belong to the person making the pronouncement. It is the House. And if the leader of majority or leader of minority or any other member raises an issue on the floor of this House, it ceases being their issue. It ceases being their personal issue. It becomes an issue of the House and for the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, Honorable, 1 minute only, Kajwang, then I give direction.
Mr. Speaker, when matters such as this arise, probably it is good enough that a few members who have been around may also share their sentiments. Mr. Speaker, with all that the majority leader and the minority leader has said, I want to take a different tangent. I think that there is a disorder in the House. Right now, there is disorder in the House. And until that disorder has been solved, the House is unable to conduct further business. I'm talking about the sanctity, the dignity, the respectability of this House. To find, when we changed the standing orders, to allow cabinet secretaries and other people that could be invited to this House to deal with us in terms of statements, we did not give them the privilege to walk into this House. They must know they are strangers. Right now, they are strangers. And at best, they can only be witnesses, whom we summon from time to time in our own wisdom, and only to participate and say the things that we want them to say here. Yes. For a witness, even before appearing before us, to give us a lengthy lecture about hearsays and say that what we are doing here, we are purporting. We are purporting to do the things that we are doing here. We are purporting. And to allow this witness to write to the Speaker, where is even the protocol of writing to the Speakers of the Houses? Once we have issued the summons, and the Constitution allows us that we can summon anybody, whether in plenary or in committee, to come before us. Now, how is it that a witness decides, therefore, with, raises upon a stool and decides to address the presiding officer of this House and lectures him accordingly? And and the culture that we should adopt when we deal with these matters.
You made your point.
Now, the last point I want to make, Mr. Speaker, sir. The last point I want to make, Mr. Speaker, since we changed the standing orders, if we allow this unaddressed, then the executive or anybody else under whom we supervise will have the latitude, because there is something called precedents. I know the witness wants us to talk about the traditions. He also knows about something called precedents. If we allow him to go with this unattended, then of course we have lost our value in holding these people to account. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that there is a disorder in the House, and until this disorder has been dealt with by getting this, this insubordinate witness, this very insubordinate witness, well, not hostile. Hostile will give me problems, but insubordinate to this House. That must be taken out before we can go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, order. Indeed, I found, as your speaker, the content of the letter read by the majority leader strange. And this goes majority leader, informal cabinet ministers, that they come to answer questions guided by you as the majority leader, who is the nexus between this House and the executive. And writing to Mr. Speaker after he has given direction is inadvisable. So going to the future, you may need to communicate to all cabinet secretaries on how to engage the House. And more particularly, once the chair has given direction on the matter, no minister has any right to give value judgment on that direction. Because what the content of that letter is giving value judgment on the direction of the chair. It's out of order, and to cut a long story short, Minister, you will be required to rescind in totality the contents of that letter, tender an apology to the House, then we move on with answering the questions that are before us. Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable members of this very august House. Let me, Mr. Speaker, from the outset, make it absolutely succinctly and unambiguously clear that I subject myself to the authority and oversight of this House in totality. That should not be in doubt whatsoever, Honorable Speaker. Let me also make it clear that the correspondence that has been referenced here was authored and conveyed in good faith, and I would apologize unreservedly if in any way that letter has created...
Don't give a conditional apology, Minister. Just cut a long story short. An apology should be unequivocal and clear.
Mr. Speaker.
Cut the long story short. Rescind the contents thereof. Apologize to the House. We do business. There are a lot of bills pending after this.
Mr. Speaker, may I therefore, with a lot of respect, withdraw that correspondence and unreservedly tender an apology to the Honorable House.
Thank you.
May I proceed, sir?
Let the Majority Leader read out the questions, and then you can proceed to answer. And in your questions, members, those chips on the correspondence will lie where they fell. I will not allow any one of you to go back to it. Deal with the questions on how our athletes are being dealt with, how they're being managed, and how the issues came to this House.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Well guided, and I will proceed to read out the questions as they are listed on the order paper. One is for the ministers to respond to the following issues relating to the role the ministry in facilitating the Kenya team that attended the Special Olympics held in Berlin, Germany in June 2023 on the following issues. One, how and why the Kenya's team to the Special Olympic Games jetted out of the country without neither the Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Sports and the Arts nor a representative from the ministry flagging them off. B, how and why the Cabinet Secretary did not deem it reasonable to receive and celebrate the team for their monumental performance during their arrival into the country from the Games. And C, what measures is the ministry putting in place to ensure the anomaly of ill-treating athletes doesn't recur again? 2, Honorable Speaker, on management of aquatic sports in the country. A, explain why Kenya Aquatics has historically been unable to comply with the rules and decisions of World Aquatics, including holding of elections even after a stabilization committee was established in June 2022, on the 28th of June 2022 to be precise. B, enumerate efforts that the ministry has put in place to ensure that Kenya Aquatics Stabilization Committee conducts elections and state when the elections will be conducted so that the World Aquatics can lift the suspension of Kenya Aquatics since 2022 from participating in any activities within the World Aquatics. C, give an undertaking that the ministry will facilitate Kenyan swimmers to participate in the World Aquatics event scheduled for February 2024 in Doha, Qatar, and in the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France. D, lastly, state how the ministry plans to address discrimination, unfairness, and opaqueness in the selection criteria of swimmers participating in various local, regional, continental, and international swimming competitions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For better management of the questions, Minister, answer question Roman 1 on the paraplegic Olympics. Then we can come to aquatic later, so that we can take supplementaries on the first question, which you will answer, then we go to the next.
Mr. Speaker, before I go straight to answer this question, allow me to thank this Honorable House for affording myself and the ministry the opportunity to come here and engage with the House on a number of activities that the ministry is responsible for. Honorable Speaker, I will seek your indulgence, maybe in the course of this submission, to also share with you a bit of other information that touch on the work of this ministry, which particularly set the environment or the ecosystem within which the two particular questions have been set. Honorable Speaker, just as a matter of providing some background, we as a ministry are very alive to the value of sports in this country. In fact, Honorable Speaker, it is the mantra of this ministry, the belief of this ministry, that Kenya's #1 export to the world is our sportsmen and women. Our sportsmen and women do more in branding this country, in bringing honor to this country than anything else. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this House that as a ministry, we are fully committed to addressing the myriad challenges confronting this important sector. Honorable Speaker, when we came to office 10 months ago, we inherited a sporting scene with a number of critical challenges. And allow me, Mr. Speaker, to quickly share those challenges because they are relevant to the two issues that you have invited me here to share. Number one, Mr. Speaker, we found a country that was under suspension by FIFA, and Kenya had suspended FIFA from all international footballing activities. Mr. Speaker, that suspension had a very costly impact on sporting in this country. Harambee Stars, the Harambee Starlets, were locked out of competitions to qualify for AFCON, the World Cup, and all that. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to report to this House that among our first order of business was to engage FIFA very, very quickly, and I did seek and get an appointment with the FIFA president, Mr. Gianni Infantino, and within 1 month, that suspension was lifted. I'm very glad to report to this House, Mr. Speaker, that last Saturday, 19th of August, Kenya formally returned to international football with the participation of Kakamega Homeboys hosting the Libyan side Al Hilal in the first round of the CAF Confederation Cup. Mr. Speaker, the second challenge we inherited was a looming ban.
Yes, David Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the Cabinet Secretary is telling us about the history and the work he has done. He should simply stick to answering the questions that he has been asked, which is about the athletes and the team, a very specific question. We didn't ask about FIFA and football and being suspended. Thank you.
Minister, you may proceed to answer the questions as they were read out by the majority in the interest of time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just thought that this whole area is a complete ecosystem and the House could benefit from this background. But let me go straight. Let me go straight to the questions. And as you have guided, Mr. Speaker, let me go to the question on the Summer Special Olympic Games. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to provide a detailed report on Kenya's participation in the 2023 Summer Olympic Games held in Berlin, Germany, from June the 17th to 25th this year. The Games had a participation, global participation, of a total of 6,500 athletes from across the world, representing 190 countries, competing in 26 different disciplines. We had a whole contingent of 3,000 coaches and 18,000 volunteers at those games. Team Kenya, Honorable Speaker, had a total of 66 athletes who were accompanied by 26 coaches and guides. These particular games, Honorable Speaker, let me clarify, normally involve persons who are intellectually challenged, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, I need to emphasize that even the accompanying delegation is normally a bit bigger than in normal delegations because of extra support needed to the team. Mr. Speaker, the team departed on different dates between 10th, 11th, and 16th of June. Mr. Speaker, the reason why normally teams depart in batches is because, number one, the schedule is normally quite long, and athletes prefer to arrive when their particular discipline is very close. And you know that even the weather can affect the performance of an athlete. And so they depart in batches. Mr. Speaker,
Yes, Honorable Muya. What is the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I am indeed sad that the minister is not answering the direct question of flagging off these children and welcoming them. But the point of order is that he may not be well briefed about Special Olympic. Special Olympic, Honorable Speaker, from my experience, is games where all children go together, because traditionally the opening ceremony is traditional and closing ceremony is traditional. And the reason they went in different dates was purely because of late procurement of air ticket, indeed, when the games had already commenced.
Let him finish, we'll ask him supplementaries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the team was accompanied by 13 government officials, led by Her Excellency, the Second Lady, and 2 officers from the ministry, the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Academy of Sports, and the Acting Director of Sports. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the House that the ministry took full responsibility for this team. We provided a total of 159 million shillings, 825,282 shillings to support the full preparations and participation of this team at these games. And that money included support to residential training, provision of uniforms, sports equipment, travel expenses, which included return air tickets for the whole delegation, allowances in accordance with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, accommodation, reception. We had a reception upon the team returning, and also awards or rewards for this team. Mr. Speaker, let me inform the House that on average, because of the sporting tradition of this country, on average we have multiple teams participating in various activities across the world. In any given month, you might have 3 or so delegations going to different parts of the world to represent the country in different activities. We work at the ministry as a team, Honorable Speaker, and we take responsibility for different activities at different times. This particular activity or this particular trip did not find me in town, Your Excellency, Honorable Speaker, because I was performing other duties elsewhere. But the team was fully facilitated. I can confirm to this House that indeed I was not at the airport at the departure of this team, but officers of the ministry accompanying this team ensure that all the preparations required were done and that full funding as required was fully done. Mr. Speaker, I can also confirm that we remained in touch with this team throughout the period of these games. We tracked their participation, and upon their return from this trip, we had a reception at the airport, complete with the traditional dancers, Mr. Speaker, which is a tradition for us in this country. We had officers of the ministry. We even had garlands of flowers to garland them and to celebrate them. And Mr. Speaker, I have images and videos of the very elaborate ceremony of receiving these athletes at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Mr. Speaker, immediately after the arrival back of this team, we arranged for a special reception to honor them. And Mr. Speaker, let me also disclose to this House that Her Excellency, the Second Lady, is also the patron of this team. And that's why she traveled with this team, and she has been very supportive to this team. And indeed, through her, we had already received information that His Excellency the Deputy President wished to be the host of the reception for this team. I want to confirm to this House that we facilitated that reception, and at that reception, we also provided a confirmation of 18.75 million shillings as cash awards for this team. That cash award, Honorable Speaker, is as follows. This team won 15 gold medals, 10 individual gold medals, and 5 team gold medals. 4 silver medals, 2 individual and 2 team. 5 bronze medals, 2 individual and 3 team. We, using the scale that the ministry has established over time, provided 750,000 shillings for every gold medal winner, 500,000 for every silver medal winner, and 300,000 for every bronze winner. I can assure this House, Honorable Speaker, that the ministry was fully represented at that ceremony by the Principal Secretary of the ministry responsible for State Department of Sports, Engineer Peter Toom, who represented the ministry at that event. And as I've already indicated, Honorable Speaker, in that period, I was on assignment, out of town official assignment of the ministry. But I can assure you that even in my absence, and this ministry is not run as a one-man show, this ministry is run together with 2 principal secretaries, one of whom is accompanying here. The ministry is run with senior officers across the ministry, and we share responsibilities. I believe, Honorable Speaker, that this team was well handled, this team was well facilitated, this team was well received, and this team has been well rewarded for the excellent performance representing the country. Let me conclude on that particular question, Honorable Speaker, by confirming to this House that I have been available to receive Kenyan teams, to send off Kenyan teams multiple times. I've been at the airport to see off our rugby team. I have held receptions for our teams. When our team to Australia, to the World Cross Country Championship, left the country, I was on hand to flag them off. When they came back, I was on hand to receive them and to hold a reception for them. This I have done countless times, Honorable Speaker. The last one is our team that is currently competing at the Budapest World Athletics Championships. It is a team that I hosted. It is a team that I flagged off. And, Honorable Speaker, on the occasion of flagging off this team, they even raised issues on their allowances. And after consulting and looking at the scheme, which we have been revising, we were able to triple the allowances, the team that is currently in Budapest. Local allowances, we tripled from 1,000 per day to 3,000 per day. International allowances, we tripled from $60 a day to $200 a day. And that was done in the context, Honorable Speaker, of the reward scheme, which we have revised to improve our appreciation to our athletes. You saw when Faith Kipyegon broke the world record. In the context of that new scheme, we are able to award her 5 million Kenya shillings and a house worth 6 million Kenya shillings. We did the same to support Ferdinand Omanyala for his excellent performance in the African Championships in the 100 meters. Under the same scheme, Honorable Speaker, we held a ceremony a month ago called the Hongera Award Ceremony, where again we awarded different teams in different disciplines, including football teams, including legends, just to confirm that our commitment to reward our athletes is absolutely unprecedented. This is something that has never really happened before. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, the screen is full, so it will be difficult to follow the screen. Some of you hooked in very early. Let's start with the questioner, the majority leader. I'll come to all of you. Minister, record the supplementaries so that you can answer them together. We'll take several in a row.
Honorable Speaker, the Minister asserts that he was at the airport to receive them. I don't know if it was at the airport. I'm assuming it's at the airport. Maybe he can clarify. And if there would be any evidence, I would propose, Honorable Speaker, that through the relevant committee, that evidence be adduced to give the House the comfort that indeed the Minister or any representative of the ministry was at hand to receive them. Honorable Speaker, because this is an open engagement, I have a text message I have received from somebody who says he's a sports photographer. I choose not to read his name. And he says, I would like to inform that even the current Team Kenya in Budapest were not issued with running shoes or spikes. Athlete had to source old spikes or borrow from friends. Honorable Speaker, maybe because part C of the question was asking what measures the ministry is taking to ensure that the ill treatment of athletes and other sportsmen do not recur again. Probably the minister should also give specific measures that he has taken. If the minister needs the support of this House in terms of budgetary allocations, those are some of the things maybe we would want to hear, so that when we engage on budget making process in the course of the later this year from October, the sports committee and the budget committee members who are represented here can then note some of the things that they need to support the minister with.
Yes, Honorable Kajwang, TJ.
Mr. Speaker, quickly, the point as I hear from the question and the response, it has not been answered. Minister says that he was involved elsewhere, or he was engaged elsewhere in official capacities. Now, this is the gist of the question. As I understand it, the member seems to suggest that these were children in Olympic sports. Children, very special in this country, children. Number two, they are people abled differently. Why should these two signals wouldn't have forced this Cabinet Secretary to prioritize that? One, you are dealing with children. Two, you are dealing with exemplary performance. They are in Olympic. Three, they are people abled differently. You are able to go to rugby's. You are able to go to those people who are running very fast, but you cannot prioritize just children in Olympics. Number two, you are engaged in official capacities. We don't dispute that. I read in social media, which I'm trying to keep abreast with, it is too fast for me, but I read in the social media that this minister chose to go to fine destinations overseas, dining in fine restaurants, using calamari, I do not know what calamari is, and fine wine called Cavelia, with what some of the things that even as a member, I'm not able to pronounce. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is the point, that you choose to prioritize your engagement, official engagement, when issues which should have demanded your presence, official presence, because all the responses he has been given is that that his personnel were with him, there was a PS, there was all this, including Her Excellency, the Second Lady. The point is, why as CS, wouldn't he found it necessary to be there himself, where children are concerned, where people able differently are concerned? Mr. Chair, thank you.
Let's take one more. Wanjiku, you are the cause of all this. Try and ask one supplementary at a time.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am more sad because here we are discussing of people with special needs. And Honorable Speaker, when you speak in a house like this, where I believe even Special Olympics International is watching and putting the facts contrary to the facts is a bit disheartening. Honorable Speaker, one, the Cabinet Secretary have said he provided even money for accommodation. Far from the truth, Special Olympics are special in nature. Once the children arrive at the destination, the government from there takes over accommodation, transport, food. For record, the children were sleeping 4 to 5-star hotels. For record, including myself and Honorable Catherine, all the 90 participants were given badge for free transport by the government there. What is the point here, Honorable Speaker? Is if the accommodation was to be taken care of by the Ministry of Transport, these children would have been sleeping on the floor or on the street. Honorable Speaker, the air flights were procured when the games had already started. In fact, the local organizing committee in Germany kept on calling the coordinator of Africa, who is based in Kenya, and at one point on Sunday evening, she broke up and she called me literally crying. The local organizing committee was asking, should we put accommodation for Team Kenya? Should we plan for transport? You haven't yet gotten the air ticket. And as a result, Honorable Speaker, our team, our children, flew with not intended air transport, and they landed at Munich, 8 hours drive to Berlin, where the games were being held. And these are children with special needs. Why? Because the last-minute flight booking did not allow the procurement from the ministry, whom I was informed was so arrogant and was even indicating that he will book the flights when he's free. This is the scenario. Honorable Speaker, the second truth I want to put for record in this House, Her Excellency Honorable Dorcas Rigathi is the patron of Special Olympic. She doesn't work for the Ministry of Sports. By that virtue, through her own goodwill, she accompanied the children and she stayed there. Honorable Speaker, another item to be on record. I, Honorable Ajiko Mohia, through the chairman of Africa International Olympics and even the coordinators from Kenya, did stand for Kenya as a country, the high round table meetings which were meant for the minister. The 20 African countries were represented, but when the time for Kenya came, there was no minister. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, I only participated in the field twice because the rest of the time I spent sitting for the minister. Honorable Speaker, let the minister understand that we are dealing with the children.
Thank you, Wanjiku. The nominated member for, is it called Abubakar? Abu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
One question.
Is the Cabinet Secretary aware that 4 swimmers, namely Emily Muteti, Maria Brunella, Swale Talib, Monyo Maina, attended the World Aquatic Championship in Japan
We have
last
not reached
month?
there yet.
Sorry, okay.
All your horses will come to that. Yes, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to ask a follow-up question. The Cabinet Secretary has explained that they spent close to 159 million shillings for various items to take care of the athletes, particularly for provision of uniforms. The question I want to ask, because it's public knowledge and it's in the social media, that our teams have been wearing knockoff uniforms. That is fake Adidas, fake Nikes, and fake uniforms. And it's a known fact. So I want to ask, how much did they spend on the fake uniforms, which are most likely from River Road?
Yes. Yes, Basil. Not all those questions, Minister. One question.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I read somewhere that the cheering squad composed of girlfriends of the minister officials. So I want to know I want the minister to share the list of the Kenyan delegation who are purported to be the cheering squad. Thank you.
Yes, Chepkonga. Minister, record all those. You'll answer them together.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I will not repeat the one which you have already read. But I would like to remind the Speaker, remind the Minister, Mr. Speaker, that he needs to acquaint himself with Article 73 of the Constitution. And I just want to read to him for record. It says, authority assigned to a state officer, that is himself, is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objects of this Constitution. 2, demonstrates respect for the people. 3, brings honor to the nation and dignity to his office. And then 4, promotes public confidence in the integrity of that office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I have listened to this minister. He has said he has spent money on the accommodation of the children. Mr. Speaker, I would like him to confirm, is it true that the German government paid for the accommodation? If they did, can he account what happened to this 500 million that he proposed to have been paid? That it could not even take those children by flight to Munich, where they were supposed to go, to Berlin. Mr. Speaker, the second one, could this minister also confirm that it is true that the emolument or the rewards that is supposed to have been paid has actually been paid? It is not an intention, it is not a supposition, but it is something that is true. Mr. Speaker, that needs to be confirmed to this House.
Right. Who is the member near the walkway? Kanjori Memusi, Kajiado Central. Give Memusi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know facts are very stubborn, and they've well been stated here. Honorable Speaker, in light of all the facts that have been stated, and in light of Article 73, which Honorable Chepkonga has just read, will this House be in order to demand that the CS Honorable Ababu resigns because he has painted this country in a very negative manner? Will we be in order to demand that he resigns? Thank you.
Murugara, did I see your hand? No. I'll give to Emase. One question, then Nyamai, then Minister, you come to answer those. Give Mary Emase.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I speak as a member of the Sports Committee. And I must say from the onset, I'm very disappointed and saddened by what I've been reading on social media. Having been one of the champions defending the budget of the sports ministry, even before our committee budget and appropriations where I'm the vice. You know, Honorable Speaker, when we send sportsmen, the athletes, the special needs category, they are representing Kenya. They are the ambassadors of Kenya marketing this country out there. So any image whatsoever, it will be about Kenya. So, Honorable Speaker, the dignity of those players has been compromised. And I want to ask the CS. We have given sufficient funding, and we keep adding whenever they request. What is the problem? Is it that we don't have the money? You don't have enough funding? Is it that you have incompetent staff? It is unacceptable, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Nyamai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary whether he has financial challenges or he has procurement challenges, because clearly something is not in order, Honorable Speaker. And the last one, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask, Can the Cabinet Secretary assure this House that this will never happen in this country ever again, and especially for the Special Olympics? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, you can now answer those. We'll do another round after this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me make an effort to quickly run through these questions. Let me start by the question by the Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, the Majority Leader has asked a question touching on the team in Budapest regarding the uniform. It is a question that has also been asked by the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Gladys Chalet, also touching on uniform. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, to clarify to this House that, number one, Kenyan teams at this level do not use Adidas as a brand. In fact, the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, which is responsible for teams at this level, has a subsisting contract with Nike. It is a contract that we found while already in place. And so Kenyan teams are, by virtue of that contract, kitted by Nike. And the team that went to Budapest, Honorable Speaker, I actually have the privilege of having the photos because I flagged off the team myself. And at the flagging off, Honorable Speaker, I was together with the President of Athletics Kenya, General Jackson Tuwei. And Honorable Speaker, if you allowed me, I would actually pass on to the Honorable Majority Leader images of Team Kenya fully kitted in their Nike uniform as per the contract of kitting these teams. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to submit respectfully that the Kenyan team in Budapest is actually properly kitted by the kitting partner, who is Nike. Honorable Speaker, the Majority Leader also raised a question on the challenges that the ministry may be facing that could affect the performance of the ministry. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, it would be useful as we do this interaction for me to set the scene of where the sporting arena generally looks like. And I want to confirm here that, number one, we have had limitations with budget allocation, and it will be recalled, for instance, that among the ministries that traditionally suffer budget cuts and limited funding is this particular ministry. We have the sports fund, yes, but traditionally, Honorable Speaker, this fund supports so many other things, This fund has supported healthcare, it has supported the Ministry of Education, it has supported school feeding programs, it has supported equipment acquisition in hospitals. And so, in terms of ask, one of the things that we'll be requesting this House to do is to ring-fence this fund and make it strictly a fund for sports and the arts. As it stands today, that fund now supports so many other things which crowds out support for sports and the creatives and the arts. But I want this Honorable House to note that among the biggest challenges facing this ministry is the ecosystem of federations. And I invite this House to acknowledge that the running of sports is not the exclusive domain of government. In fact, it's a partnership between government and federations. The issue of kitting, for instance, every federation normally makes arrangements for kitting. They present budgets to government, then the government provides resources to the federation. We have a serious governance challenge with a lot of our federations. When we come to the issue of aquatics, that issue will come out a lot more clearly. But we have a serious issue. And one of the things that I invite this House to do is to support the ministry fully in cleaning up the mess in federations, making sure that federations are run accountably, making sure that federations hold elections on time. We have a situation where some federations are run by live officials. Those are issues that the ministry is dealing with. Some of them require legislative action, and we have already started the process of reviewing the Sports Act, a matter on which we shall be engaging this House on. And so those are some of the issues, Honorable Speaker, that we will require support from the. On the question by Honorable Otieno Kajwang, Honorable Speaker, let me confirm that.
That is T.J. Kajwang.
T.J. Kajwang,
yes. Kajwang is the late.
Yes, my apologies. I served with the Honorable late Kajwang, and I thank you for the correction. Number one, Honorable Speaker, this team was not a team of children, just to confirm that it was a team actually of senior players, aged generally between the age of 20 and 35. That was the general age of the team, just to clarify that on record. Number two, Honorable Kajwang, I can confirm to this House that certainly I'm the least traveled cabinet secretary in terms of traveling. When you talk about traveling to destinations, I saw some report indicating that I'm supposed to be in Budapest with the World Athletics team. I can confirm to this House that because of austerity measures of spending within the ministry, I have actually not had the honor or the privilege to accompany our teams traveling out of the country. We choose instead to send technical officers, like for this particular team, we sent the CEO of the Academy of Sports and the Director of Sports. The team in Budapest right now has a technical officer who is the Director of Sports accompanying the Principal Secretary, Engineer Peter Tum. And so it is not true at all that I go gallivanting around the globe, Honorable Speaker. I actually travel very sparingly. I want that to go on record. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Wanjiku Muia raised a number of questions, one on the spending on accommodation. And I want to confirm that the spending on accommodation, which I indicated here, and it is even in our formal submission, was actually on local accommodation. We accommodated this team at Kise, where we accommodated for the entire period of camping, and that cost was met by the funding that I have provided. Ordinarily, when you have Olympics, the organizing federation takes responsibility at that level. And so let that be clarified. In terms of why this team flew to Munich, it was because there was a build-up activity in Munich. And so different teams were actually supposed to congregate in Munich and then proceed to Berlin from Munich. Reason why this team went to Munich. It is not true that there was late registration. This team was actually registered on time, and all of them were able to participate. The rules for these events, these international events, are so stringent that they do not allow any registration out of time. And I can confirm that this team indeed was registered on time. Honorable Gladys Boschley, the Honorable Deputy Speaker, raised a couple of questions, one on the budget and how that budget was spent. And let me confirm, Honorable Speaker, that ordinarily, the ministry does not generate any budget for any event. Budgets are generated by the parent federation. In this case, the budget was generated by the Special Olympics Federation. It is that budget that is used to make the allocation. The funds actually go to the federation, and it's the federation that takes responsibility for that spending. The federation also takes responsibility for kitting, and I want to confirm yet again that we are not aware of any fake Adidas, and that these teams are ordinarily kitted by Nike under a very formal agreement that is actually headlined by the National Olympics Committee of Kenya. That takes responsibility. There was a question.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I do apologize for having to interrupt, but I just want to confirm that even if the kits are procured by the federations. It is the responsibility of the ministry to ensure that these ambassadors of Kenya are not doing something that is illegal. I have photographs here which are downloaded from the Team Kenya website. The Africa Beach Games that happened, the second edition, here the pictures show they are wearing Adidas, and I will give it to you, Cabinet Secretary. Here, when our team went to, again here on the 28th of June, 2023, on the official Team Kenya site and other, including your own Twitter handle, again, they are wearing Adidas. We all know what Adidas is. And if they were kitted by Nike, then you would have a confirmation that Nike actually donated the uniforms and that they are originals. Again, here I have a picture of our teams again. In fact, the CEO of the Paris 2024 Olympics alerted on the use of fake kits by Kenya, and I have that email. Again, on the 27th of July, our national team, 3x3 under 23, left the country with for the FIBA National League Games. Again, here are their pictures wearing fake Adidas. So unless you confirm and give us a letter and transmit it to the leader of majority, showing and confirmation from Adidas saying these are original uniforms, or if it is Nike to say these are original uniforms, I have the pictures here. So this is not hearsay. And Honorable Speaker, so that I don't have to get up again on this issue, I'd also like the Cabinet Secretary, I have searched for days on end for the Talenta app, which was launched by the head of state on the 9th of June. No, yes, 9th of June. It is here. Again, there is no app that exists. What the president launched does not exist at all. We'd like to know, does Talenta Hela exist? Ama ni Talenta Hewa?
May I continue, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, this issue of kit is a very important issue because it touches on copyright, it touches on intellectual property, and it is an area which is very tightly guarded. I want to confirm that the team that the Honorable Gladys Chalet refers to Tunisia, I want to confirm to this Honorable House that I flagged it off myself. I flagged it off myself, and they were in their official Nike kit. That is something I can confirm to this House without any fear of contradiction. I also want to confirm to this House that the team in Budapest, the World Athletics Championship team, is a team I personally flagged off. That team is also at the flagging off wearing their official Nike colors. I am willing, Honorable Speaker, to get confirmation from Athletics Kenya, the federation that manages athletics, National Olympics Committee, the team that manages all teams to the Olympics. I can commit to this House to bring here a confirmation from them on the agreement they have with Nike and the kitting by Nike of all Team Kenya teams to these delegations. And of course, I would also be happy to receive the images and the information that the Honorable Gladys Chalet has. Allow me to come back to Talanta Hela in a moment, but quickly just indicate on the question of raised by Honorable Chepkonga, my learned friend Chepkonga, on the question of accommodation. I have already confirmed that the accommodation was for local accommodation because this team was in camp for quite a number of days preparing for this activity. And on the payment of the awards, that payment is being processed, and there was a challenge. I have confirmed this with the Principal Secretary. There was a challenge with some of the accounts presented for transmission of this money. I want to inform this House that because of previous cases of misappropriation of money meant for athletes, we have changed the procedure, and now we send money for athletes directly to the athletes. It takes a bit of time to get the details. Some of those details sometimes have difficulty, but the 18.75 million Kenya shillings has already been released and is available to the athletes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Emase posed the question on whether the challenge is funding or incompetent staff. As I have already indicated, the ministry has a serious funding challenge. That I'll admit to this House, and I'll actually invite the House to be a lot more accommodating, given the value of sports, to be a lot more accommodating in your resource allocation to sports, to be a lot more accommodating when we request this House to ring-fence the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund for sports and the arts exclusively. I have no doubt that the ministry has competent staff, but we definitely have issues in federations. And as I've already asked this House, we are putting together a very robust program to deal with the governance challenges in federations. But it is a challenge that requires the full support of this House. We have already put these federations on notice, and we invite this House to support that process of streamlining federations. Allow me to conclude, Honorable Speaker, with the question on Talanta Hela. Honorable Speaker, Talanta Hela is a very revolutionary program. It is a program which is intended to fix the myriad challenges that we inherited in this sector. And I had started by making reference to those challenges. We found a country banned by FIFA. We found a country on the verge of being banned by World Athletics because of doping. We found a country with no single stadium approved by FIFA or CAF for football activities. The whole arena of sports infrastructure was completely tattered. We found a country where federations had myriad issues. We also inherited a scene, Honorable Speaker, where that whole area of what we call the creatives was really not consolidated. And I'm talking about musicians, I'm talking about film, I'm talking about royalties payable to our creatives. So that is the scene we inherited. To help fix these challenges, we imagined what we consider to be a silver bullet. And that silver bullet is what we are calling the Talanta Hela Initiative. This initiative, Honorable Speaker, is about launching sports and the creatives as a mega industry. It's about monetizing talents of our young people. And, Honorable Speaker, as I speak right now, we have already had a very successful national youth talent camp. The Talanta Hela Inter-County Football Tournament is going on all over the country. In fact, we launched that tournament in the home county of the Honorable Deputy Speaker of Uasin Gishu at Kipchoge Keino Stadium in a very successful ceremony. That is going on. Honorable Speaker, on the Talanta Hela app, that app is not just an app. The Talanta Hela is actually a digital system. It's a digital system that would allow scouting of talents from all over the country through the virtual space. It is actually a fantastic system, so that a child in Turkana, for instance, can be able to send their skill through that app to a team of scouts. Now, what was ignited by His Excellency the President at State House on June 9 was the system, and the system is ready. I can confirm to this House that there was a challenge that caused a delay in the completion of the screening room, because it is a whole ecosystem from the point where you take a clip and put it in the system, where it is then transmitted to a screening center. That screening center, Honorable Speaker, suffered procurement delays, and we have been given a date of September 4th for the completion of the screening room.
So, Honorable CS, are you confirming it does not exist?
It exists, only that it has not been activated. But the system exists, and the reason why I need to clarify this is that the moment you activate it, you will start sending content, but the content will not have a destination because the destination is still being put together. And that destination is what we call the Talent Screening Center at Kasarani, and I invite this Honorable House, they can visit Kasarani at the Kenya Academy of Sports and confirm that actually we are working round the clock to complete the screening room at the Kenya Academy of Sports in Kasarani.
There's
But the system is...
point of order from the Deputy Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary is confirming that when the President launched something that was not ready, that is what we need to know. Because if it's not live to the public, then it was not necessary to launch it. So let's get a confirmation. He's saying it's under progress. So whatever was launched is something under construction. I think we need, that should come out clearly. Don't try and say we are building and it's staying here and it's in Kasarani. It was launched, which means it should have been live to the public, and it is not.
I know there are many interventions on this. Honorable CS, please save yourself what you see in the House, because the question the Deputy Speaker asked is whether what was launched in State House exists as it is as or not. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that it doesn't exist. Honorable Ochieng, I'll hear Honorable Ochieng, then I'll hear Honorable Fatuma.
Honorable Speaker, I've sat here and listened pensively to my friend, the CS for Sports. And I can tell you for sure, from where I sit, that he's not in charge. Because he's kept passing the buck to federation after federation. That on this Olympics, it's the Olympics committee that is in charge. On football, it is the Football Federation. It can't be that way.
Honorable members,
I want to ask my question.
Yes, ask a question
Madam Speaker.
on the same Talanta Hela, because I will open a few others as follow-up questions.
No, Madam Speaker, I was going to ask also that I don't have to come back, if you allow me.
Honorable members, we've already exhausted the 1 hour that the Speaker had intended for this question. I would request we let the CS finish, then I will give a few more interventions, and then we will go to the second part of the question, which actually now touches on aquatic, and we had a few members on the same. So the CS can finish. Honorable Cheng, you'll wind up, then I'll give the CS, and then we'll continue with the others later.
What I wanted to know from the minister is what he's doing as minister to ensure that he takes back the charge of the ministry and sports affairs in the country. Number two, we've heard that this government works through something called one government approach. And just following up on the question by the Deputy Speaker, is it now the policy of government to keep launching things, because it's just not sports? You tell the president, go and launch things that are not ready, then you tell us that there was procurement challenges. Why didn't you wait for the procurement challenges to be sorted out first before you launch, Chair? Thank you so much.
Cabinet Secretary, please make it precise.
Thank you. I'll be very precise on this, Honorable Speaker. What I want to confirm is that the President launched a whole initiative. That initiative is called Talanta Hela. This initiative was launched on June 9, but it had a program. It had a calendar. That calendar included the inter-county football tournament. This program was launched on 9th. The tournament started 1 week ago because it had a calendar and it had a process of preparation, including working closely with the counties. The tournament was part of it. We had something called National Talent Camp. That talent camp happened and was concluded last week. So there is a series of activities. When you talk about the Talanta Hela initiative, it's not just about the app. It's a series of activities. And in fact, I can confirm to this House that the app was intended to go up during the period of the tournament. because that is when really we want to pick up the talents. And so it is not true that the president launched something non-existent. The president launched a program that is actually being rolled out. The program is being rolled out through the inter-county football program. The program is being rolled out through the National Talent Camp. The program is being rolled out by the Creatives Economy program. For instance, I can confirm to this House that the entire ecosystem of the football, of the sports undertaken by schools, the second term ball game that concluded in Kakamega, is a program that was fully funded by this ministry to the tune of 267 million Kenya shillings. And it is from that program that we brought 2,000 students to Nairobi for the National Talent Camp. That is part of the Talanta Hela program. It is under the same program that we are building partnerships around music and film, and we have even signed partnerships with a number of partners like Trace TV, like the American Grammys, and all these partnerships are part of that Talanta Hela ecosystem. So it's a very broad program. It has a long implementation time frame, and each of the activities that are set under this program are rolling on, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker.
I want us to make progress, honorable members. I can see there are some members who had asked some questions. Honorable Basil, you had asked the issue of joyriders. If I remember well, Honorable Rachel Nyamai, you had asked the CS whether he has issues with money. Honorable Memusi had asked the CS whether he's willing to resign. CS, you will respond to those three. Then I will get to the last leg of these questions. Honorable members, please hold your horses. We will try to cover as many as possible.
Honorable Speaker, on the question by Honorable Basil, I am not aware of any joyriders being part of any official delegation accompanying any Kenyan team to any event. If it's the event that we are discussing here, the Paralympics in Berlin, the ministry was represented by only two officers who I have named here: the CEO of the Kenya Academy of Sports and the acting director of sports. Those were the only officials from the ministry. Her Excellency, the Second Lady, had a delegation, and that is a delegation that we were managing separately. Other than those two delegations and the officials accompanying the team, together with the athletes, I'm not aware of any other joyriders. But if the honorable member has any details of any joyriders, I would be more than happy to get those details, Honorable Speaker. But I'm not aware of any. Honorable Nyamai, on the question of resources, I have answered this question, and I have made it very clear that this ministry is among the least funded ministries. And that is not a lie. This ministry receives the least funding by government, and it is always a struggle. And even the sports fund, which was intended to be some kind of backup for this ministry, is crowded by so many other needs. Health dips in, education dips in, tourism and culture dips in, everybody dips in their hand, which crowds out the resources available for sports and the arts. We would be very grateful to this House to pass regulations to ring fence. And let me announce, Honorable Madam Speaker, that we have actually brought here a formal request asking this Honorable House to ring fence the sports fund for sports and the creatives strictly. Honorable, my good brother, Honorable Cheng, I have not in any language, whether English, Swahili, or Lunyala dialect that I grew up speaking back in the villages of Budalangi, I have not said at all that I am not in control of this ministry. What I have, and I can confirm to you, Honorable Madam Speaker, is that I'm fully in touch and in control of this ministry. But I have made it clear that this is a public institution, and it cannot be run as a one-man show. I share responsibilities with my two principal secretaries. I share responsibilities with my technical officers. And I also know that sports has other stakeholders. Federations play a critical role in the management of sports. The reason why Kenya was banned by FIFA in 2021 is because government attempted to do something which FIFA interpreted as meddling in the affairs of the federation. It is something which repeatedly crops up because federations have a role. And if we genuinely want to improve sports in this country, please oversight the ministry and make sure the ministry is performing optimally, but don't close your eye to federations. Federations have a critical role to play. Let us make federations accountable. Let us make federations improve their governance culture. If federations are performing and the ministry is performing, definitely sports in this country will improve. And especially if we provide sufficient resources to support these activities. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Other members, we will make progress on this matter. I would request that the CS answers part 2 of this question so that we also open another window for follow-up questions, and we will get as many as possible at that point. Honorable CS, and please, Honorable CS, we understand the history and maybe where you're coming from, but please stick to the question on the issues. Be precise and to the question. What is your point of order, Honorable Memusi? I had already raised your question with the Honorable CS. Would you be willing to resign? I don't want you to repeat it, Honorable CS. Honorable Memusi, do not repeat the question because you had already asked. CS, as you answered the second part, kindly respond to Honorable Memusi.
Honorable Speaker, I believe I have responded to pretty much all the questions raised except the issue raised by Honorable Memusi.
Honorable CS, address the House. Just
Thank
continue.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let the CS make the response, then we will give a few more members. We will let the Cabinet Secretary answer this question. Please go on, answer Honorable Memusi's question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have no doubt whatsoever in my mind, in my work, in my imagination. I have no doubt that I am performing well as Cabinet Secretary for Sports, the Arts, and Youth Affairs. Honorable Speaker, 10 months ago, when I walked into this ministry as the Cabinet Secretary, I inherited an arena that was in a total mess, as I have already indicated. I inherited an arena, as I said, football banned.
Honorable CS, please respond, just precisely.
I can respond to this House.
Are you willing to resign based on these issues that have been raised on this floor?
I believe, Honorable Speaker, that there is absolutely no sufficient ground that would cause my resignation, because I believe I am performing exemplary well as Cabinet Secretary responsible for this ministry.
Order members. Order members. Order members. I know we have many follow-up questions on this issue, but I would like us to let the CS go to the second part, and we will open it up again. But I know Honorable Wanjiko had asked a question which has not been answered. Order, Honorable Roko, order. Honorable Wanjiko, the question that you had raised on payment, Honorable CS, respond to that issue. You're not on record, Honorable Wanjiko. Honorable CS, Honorable CS, there was a question on the payment. You said it's in the process. How long and when is it supposed to be completed?
I can confirm, Honorable Speaker, to the Honorable Wanjiku Muya, that with the little glitches that have already been settled by the Principal Secretary and the fund, I believe that in no more than a week, the funds should be in the accounts of the athletes. In no more than a week, Honorable Speaker. May I now, Honorable Speaker, come to the question of aquatic sports? And Honorable Speaker, let me from the outset indicate to this House that the state of swimming in this country is symptomatic, is a microcosm of the challenges in federations that I have repeatedly alluded to. A challenge where federations have, for a long time, not been ready to respect the law of this country, where federations have been reluctant to be accountable. We have a law in this country, Honorable Speaker, called the Sports Act. It is a law that we put in place to regulate this whole arena of sports. We enacted this law in 2013, and Honorable Speaker, I was actually the Minister for Sports in the coalition government when I stood on this floor. That time I was both Minister for Sports and Member of Parliament for Budalangi, and I stood on this floor to move the Sports Act for enactment. We have had serious challenges in the intervening period in enforcement of that statute. Today, what ails Aquatics Kenya, or Kenya Aquatics? The issue here is failure to comply with the law and the regulations. But most importantly, Honorable Speaker, is that as we speak today, this federation is embroiled in a court case, a legal tussle. This case that has moved from the Sports Tribunal to the High Court is now styled as Nairobi High Court Petition number E08 of 2021, Margaret Ngungu Mwasha and another, versus the Kenya Swimming Federation and 3 others. 2 factions of this federation have gone to court. And the bone of contention is who should be in control of this federation and how should elections for this federation be conducted. One faction is clinging onto a constitution that they produced as a faction. The other faction is insisting that things have to be done differently, which has caused a major stalemate. I want to confirm to this honorable House that we have made effort to intervene in this matter by engaging directly with World Aquatics. This House also needs to take notice of one major issue when it comes to dealing with the international federations. International federations are very protective of their turf. They are very protective of their affiliates. You touch an affiliate, the World Federation tells you that is government interference. And so we have been tussling with World Aquatics to allow government to exercise the law, and specifically to exercise, Honorable Speaker, the mandate in Section 54 of the Sports Act. Section 54 of the Act allows the Cabinet Secretary to make an intervention in the management of a federation. We have gone back and forth with World Aquatics because they feel if we deploy Section 54 of the Sports Act, then they will pretty much walk out of Kenya and completely freeze Kenya out of international swimming activities. But I'm glad to inform this House that we had a breakthrough this morning with World Aquatics. And World Aquatics has now agreed that we can form a team under Section 54 on consultation with them, because they have already put together a team called Stabilization Committee. They have been very protective of that committee, and they had even refused to allow government to have membership on that committee. We have agreed with World Aquatics that we can now consult and put together a joint team, a team that involves representation desired by World Aquatics and representation that meets the requirements of Section 54 of the Sports Act. I want to assure this House that we have held multiple meetings. I have held a meeting with parents. This is a sport where parents have got a very big voice because it involves minors, and previously we have had the challenge of these minors being abused. And so parents insist to have a big say. I have met parents. I have met the Stabilization Committee, and I have engaged World Aquatics. I believe that with the agreement today that we can form a joint committee, we should be able to resolve this matter. But as even as give that undertaking, the elephant in this room is this High Court petition number 08 of 2021, which we must get out of court, because through this application, we have an injunction that stops anybody from purporting to undertake elections or the management of swimming activities. Let me also assure this House that among the asks we have put before World Aquatics is that we have asked World Aquatics that as we go on with this process of putting together the committee and preparing elections and agreeing on a constitution for Aquatic Kenya, we can have an arrangement where our swimmers can continue to participate in international competitions. We have an event coming up in February next year. It is an important activity because it's a qualifier for the Olympics. We have asked World Aquatics that as we deal with these issues, let us not punish the athletes. Let us deal with the governance issues, but have an arrangement that will allow our swimmers to participate in the qualifiers, and if they qualify, to participate in the Olympics. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
The first will go to Honorable Fatuma from Migori. Honorable CS, I see you have a team. Please note the questions. There are many. Honorable Fatuma, give Honorable Fatuma the microphone.
Honorable Speaker, it took me an hour to get an intervention so that I could raise a point of information. I have seen in this House that the CS is being given evidences from Facebook, printed and being read by one person. It has not been laid here. We don't know what that person is reading. I've seen a honorable member using an SMS from I don't know who wrote the SMS, and based on that evidence, the CS is being asked, are you ready to resign? How do you resign from information that you don't even know provided from Facebook? I request that all CSS be treated the same. We have tried as opposition bringing information to this House, and even certified by lawyers, our information was rejected. What is it about this CS that an SMS and a Facebook can lead to his resignation? May I be informed properly if the CSS are the same in this House? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Fatuma. But I want to confirm that the question that was asked on resignation was by Honorable Memusi and was totally actually from your side and different from what was laid on this side. All right, Honorable Alice Nganga from Thika.
Honorable Speaker, I just need to go to ask CS. I'm the chair on social protection, and I know there are these sportmen and women who are able differently. When they go out there, are they given special treatment as they deserve? Because they are not like any other sportman and a woman. They need special attention before they leave here. Are they given even people to take them around? Because I know they go for Olympics, but they also need to be treated in a special manner. They are vulnerable. They need to be treated as such. And another thing I've realized, CS, is communication. On your side, communication has failed. Because right now you have told us that you brought 2,000 people here in Nairobi. In fact, we don't know where they came from this nation. I know they came from somewhere, but we don't know from where because there's no that information. If you see drama festivals or music festivals, they are known across the country, even when they are being performed. But when you hear about these activities the ministry is undertaking, we have no such information. And these members of parliament, if you want information to reach every corner of this nation, just involve the members of the National Assembly. By tomorrow morning, every person will know what is happening in the youth sector. But if you keep to yourself, we are going to be experiencing difficulties like we are doing right now. If there's that football that was going on the other day, we only saw it on the television. We did not know it is going to inter-counties. Let information flow from the ministry to the grassroots where it matters. Because when we go to the grassroots, all the youths are on our case. What is happening? Why is it our constituency not involved in football? Or when youths are going to Nairobi, let information flow from your ministry to the grassroots where it matters most. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, let us keep our questions precise and to the point so that as many people can speak. Honorable KJ.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And my two questions are very succinct to the Honorable CS, Ababu Namwamba. And it is in regard to the federation. The first one is in regard to the federations that Honorable CS has severally referred to. And Madam Speaker, noting that Honorable Amina Abdallah, this is the CS Emeritus as Gazette notice, banning FKF has never been voided, it has never been vacated, it has never been reversed or challenged, and there are two court orders which are confirming that due process was followed in the banning of FKF. The question here to Honorable CS is whether FKF, as one of the federations that is pulling back sports in this country, whether the FKF officers who are in office now, Mr. CS, are legally in office. It is important also to ask, noting that even if they were in office legally, their term would be ending in February, are there active plans to prepare for elections in the coming year? Madam Speaker, the second question I ask as Chair, Communication, Information and Innovation. Is the Honorable CS aware of any deals that are being cut with Azam TV of Tanzania? And if there is any such deal that is being cut, how is it being cut at the expense of the national broadcaster, KBC? Have we checked KBC? Have we checked their ability to air live matches? And have they been proven not fit for purpose, even at a moment where there is a cabinet memo in front of the cabinet where he sits on the revamping and reorganization of KBC? Honorable CS, kindly.
Honorable Mark Nyamita.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have two questions, but I'll just make a comment. And I just want to urge my colleagues because, and I speak as a sports practitioner, I actually run a club, and I have interacted with these federations. It may be important for the House to know that the ministry's powers in dealing with federations is only to a certain limit. And maybe it's about time that this House might want to consider giving more powers to the CS if we are to expect some of the expectations that I'm hearing from some of my colleagues here, because otherwise then, if we also come to this House, Madam Speaker, and refer to hot discussions that are going on social media to grill a cabinet secretary, we might miss the point, I must say. Having said that, Madam Speaker, let me also say that I think, and I'm saying as a practitioner of sports myself, that there's been a great...
There's a point of order from Honorable Wanjiku.
Speaker, is the honorable member in order to refer to the discussion here as hot air from social media when we know that the Special Olympic happened in Berlin 2023 and it was the subject matter to bring these other debates. Is he in order?
Honorable Mark Nyamita, actually what concerns me is whether under Standing Order 90, you're bound to declare interest yourself as a club owner.
Madam Speaker, there's no conflict of interest in this particular matter. I'm only sharing my experience having managed a club. And, you know, there's no point of conflict of interest. I'm only sharing for the benefit of the greater house, of how federations have powers that the ministry sometimes do not have. But just to the point of order raised by Honorable Wanjiku Muya, I think the word hot air is from you, but you will agree with me that many of the members here have alluded to discussions that are going on social media. And for the purpose of record, Honorable TJ Kajwang did mention, the Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Majority Leader did refer to what is going on social media. And I'm only saying, if we have no way of verifying what we see on social media, because on social media, some of us have even been declared dead, yet we are here. So it would be unfair really to even ask the CS really to resign on issues that are saying. But back to my question, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to ask, is
Honorable Mark
the
Nyamita,
CS...
You have already taken 2 minutes. You said you have no question, you have a comment.
I have a question, Madam Speaker.
Nyamita, you started by saying you will not ask a question. You have a comment, which I have given you 2 minutes.
I didn't say that, Madam Speaker. My question is just one question.
We can check the answer, but the next moment will go to Honorable Ndikiri on this side.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm sure the Honourable CS is aware of the Kenya Deaf Handball Championship team. Madam Speaker, the Kenya Deaf Handball Championship team missed their international match in July 2023 because they could not get the visas. They were referred to the Ministry of Sports, and subsequently they were disqualified from participating in the 2025 because of missing the visa. The games took place, Madam Speaker, in the city of Copenhagen, in the Republic of the Government of Denmark. The question is, can the Cabinet Secretary explain the reason why the team was denied visa by the Government of Denmark? And what step the ministry will take in the future to ensure that these people with special needs are given passports and visas by the respective government as the parent ministry. Thank you.
Before the next speaker, allow me to recognize in the public gallery students from Karama Academy, Msambweni constituency, Kwale County. Please join me in welcoming them to observe the proceedings of the House. The next chance will go to Honorable KK from Molo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have one comment and one question. And at a time when we are all lamenting about how the CS has performed, I would like to congratulate him on the Bukungu Stadium finals that was done for schools. As in that really showed, that was really nice. I didn't know it was a Ministry of Sport that was doing that. And Kenyans are saying that they are ready to go and pay to watch our local matches. So that was very good. On the Talanta Hela app, Honorable CS, that you kept referring to, I checked on my app store, it's not available. And maybe I thought it's because I'm using an iPhone. So I've asked my colleague who's using an Android, and still it's not there. So is the app working? Has the app been operationalized? And if not, then when it's going to be operationalized? And with that I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, on the same point,
Order, Honorable Roko. The next chance will go to the member, Honorable Abu Ahmed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I did speak, but I was stopped. Is the Cabinet Secretary aware that 4 swimmers, namely Emily Muteti, Maria Brunella, Swale Talib, Monyo Maina, attended the World Aquatic Championship in Japan last month, were admitted under the suspended member federation without any support from the ministry. Despite the lack of funding, the team managed to set a new national record. The 4 athletes did an email correspondence to the Cabinet Secretary on July 11, 2023, detailing the challenges they faced and continue to face. Up to date, the ministry has never replied or responded to the email. The sports ministry doesn't seem to care about the welfare of swimming and sports in general. They even texted you on your WhatsApp number with all the details on the complaint. Thank you.
The next chance, Honorable Mutunga. Make it short and precise.
Okay. This one is working. Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. Honourable Speaker, I want to speak of a very specific issue that has had to do with me. The Honourable CS has said is up to the task, and he has everything in his control. Honourable Speaker, when it comes to communication, I would like to ask the Honourable CS whether he is aware that I personally invited him to launch an award of a Pan-African Book Award by a member of my community. Writing in this country is extremely poor. We need to encourage the young people to write. I personally spoke to his PA. I sent a letter to the PA. The award is being given tomorrow.
What is the question?
We do not have any response. Is he aware? Is he in charge of his ministry? Does he have that communication?
Honorable members, we do not personalize this matter. Member for Sirisia. Member for Sirisia. The microphone is roaming behind you. Yes.
Oh. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, some of the questions I think are personal. But let me ask mine. Honorable Siri, recently you gave out 100 million to sports teams and individuals. In the first time it's happening in this country, Waziri, I want to ask you, could this have contributed to your problems with some of those who did not benefit?
Honorable Umi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question to the Minister would be regarding the National Talent Academy on the Talantahela program. I'm concerned because are we just making the young players just play and play without having professional agents to scout them so that they can get professional football careers? Because between the month of March and August, I'm aware of private agents who've been coming to the country and have scouted at least 10 Kenyans. But in the Talantahela program, when I looked at it, it doesn't have any nearby deliverables where we can say in the next few years, at least we've signed these young players from across the country. So my question to him is, does the ministry have a plan where they're partnering with agents? Because football, unlike the athletics do not just run and have their scouting happening from within. They have to be signed to professional football academies. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Justice.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, my question to the CS is very brief. Honorable CS, we've been doing extremely well in athletics, and more particularly, we've been doing well in the steeplechase as a specific event. Are you aware, Honorable CS, that we seem to be losing grip on steeplechase, and what are you doing specifically to make sure that traditional event gets back to Kenya? Thank you.
Member for Keses.
Where is the microphone? Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. I think also I will go as my colleague Justice, very brief. Number one, Madam Speaker, all of us were aware that currently Kenya participating in the World Championship in Buddhism. And coming from...
Did you mean Budapest?
Hungary, you can use the other name, you can feel it yourself. Budapest. Thank you, Professor.
Keses,
Thank you,
this house is a house of record.
Budapest, thank you.
You mean Budapest, not Buddhism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. No, it depends with the school you went. I went to Luamatun Primary, so you can excuse me for that. Now, Madam Speaker, as you said, Wasingishu and more so Eldoret has acquired a named City of Champions because of the athletes that come from that area or they reside in that place. Recently, I saw the CS visited Eldoret, and since I had no prior, or we as leaders from there, we had no prior information, we would have accompanied him and would have dwelled issues around there. But since we have an occasion now from the CS, I wish to know the deliberate measures you put in place to save us from the shame of Kipchoge Stadium that has been there for years. This is the only stadium we have that could give opportunity to athletes to train, to practice, and maybe even the current challenges we are experiencing in steeplechase is because we have no field for them to train. What are the deliberate measures you are putting in place? Because I saw you there, I'm sure you have information, and you never made even a statement that would have assisted us to be together with you. Thank you.
Honorable Kagombe. The microphone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have 3 concerns to the Honorable CS. One, on the issue of the Olympics. He said, on the issue of money, he said that we have had a challenge of accounts. But he also confirmed that he paid the allowances. So this account that paid allowances was not able to pay the monies for the winners for the medals. So I want to find out how this account is able to pay for some monies and not the others. Number 2, it is good. He has observed that he had a meeting with the World Aquatics today morning, and he alluded to what they discussed. But this, Kenya is watching, and the people, especially who are in swimming, have been waiting for this day. A lot of young children who now cannot swim, even at personal capacities because we've been banned from swimming, are wondering, and they wanted something concrete to hold on. The qualifiers for the Olympics are coming up on February. We are unlikely to have had the CS again in this house. So we want to know now concrete plans that he has with World Aquatics to make sure that our children participate in the qualifiers for the Olympics, in the swimming, for swimming, as they organize that. But I'm also concerned, Madam Speaker, that we have 2 functions in a federation, and we are not able to moderate between 2 factions that have kept us in court since 2014. I expected that the Honorable CS is able to put these 2 people together so that we do not have to wait for the courts. They can have an out-of-court settlement so that our children stop suffering. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I also want to confirm, Honorable Kagombe, that the CS can be made to appear in this house any other time if the house so feels important. Majority Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll pick it up from where Honorable Kagomba has stopped from. And while holding brief for Honorable Majority Leader, I want to ask the CS to come clear on the question that the Honorable Majority Leader asked on the aquatic sports, and particularly the question Roman 2C, where he required him to give an undertaking that Kenya will participate in the World Aquatic event that is scheduled in February 2024 in Doha, Qatar, and the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France. Honorable Speaker, he has stated that there are two factions that have taken each other to court on the issue of the Stabilization Committee that was established on 28 June 2022. But he hasn't come out clear on whether the ministry is making effort, possibly even to invoke the alternative dispute resolution mechanism, at least for the purposes of, hastening this process to make sure that these particular teams participate in the 2024 Summer Olympics and the February 2024 events that are scheduled there. What measures have they taken? Have they been involved? Have they enjoined themselves in the case that is in the High Court? That is a question, Honorable Speaker. Thanks.
Honorable Bensouda.
Thank you very, very much. I've really been trying since morning. Now, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity. First and foremost, allow me to appreciate that the CS was appointed a youthful and, so far as I know him, an intelligent young man who must deliver and champion the youth sports, everything that is under his docket. From the discussion, since I listened, the preliminary of the introduction of the Majority Leader, a lot could be alluded by the fact that Honorable Kajwang mentioned that there were some disorders which needs to be put to order. I had a lot of emphasis on the roles of the Majority Leader directed to the CS. To me, that was not fair at this juncture, because that was not the purpose as to why he was called. Secondly, Madam Speaker, there was also a mention of reckless talks. I was disappointed as a professional teacher when the children are on the gallery and I hear a senior member of parliament talking about, I don't care what is in the social media. Very unfortunate for elected leaders. That must be corrected to all of us. Number three, from the discussions which the CS has been asked, it is mandatory that the CS has to table the records and reports on the framework of its work in terms of procurement, in terms of the activities taking place within the country and outside the country, and align it to the budget, to the Committee of Sports, so that issues are verified. I was also seeing a case whereby the Deputy Speaker gave out the photos of pictures of Adidas. I don't know Nikes, I don't know what. We cannot verify that. Madam Speaker, I want to remember one time when Honorable Atinda Molo gave out a report of signed documents. This very house was disapproved and said that we cannot accept that. It is not authentic. And so even the Adidas photos are not authentic until the Committee for Sports summons the CS for Sports to sit before them. One thing that I'm talented, Madam Speaker, is psychology. I want to say that the discussion I'm seeing here is tailored towards crucifixion. Even Jesus was told he claims he's God. Jesus was told he claims he's what? I think we are leaders and we are mature. Please, I'm now asking my question.
Honorable Bensouda, you are now debating. You are now debating. I will give you 30 seconds. If you have a question, ask the question.
Very fast, and 1 second, I'll ask 3 questions. What framework do you have for the female gender of this country in active participation of sports, not necessarily international? 2, I come from the Lake region in Homa Bay County. We are not only talking about swimming, we have boat racing, and I want the CS to tell us what plans he has for talent nurturing, because this country is working towards youth empowerment. What are we doing on activities along the lake to ensure that through your ministry, youth are empowered? Talent Ayala is working, come on board and work with the Ministry of Women Rep Homa Bay County.
Order members, we must make progress and we will close this session. CS, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, Order, members. We have already gone 1 hour overboard from the time allocated by the Speaker. We will get to a close because we have serious business ahead. Honorable CS, you will respond to these many questions. And Honorable Majority Leader, when I look at the statement you have sought and the questions you had raised, the CS has not been able to respond properly to Part C and Part D. So we will definitely be calling him back, and maybe you can commit to that, because there are still many members with many questions on several of these issues. Majority Leader, as a precursor to the CS.
Honorable Speaker, indeed I wanted to seek your indulgence because I'm seeing we have gone an hour past the time that the Speaker had allocated, and in view of the other business, I wanted just to seek your indulgence. We allow the CS to take leave and probably answer some of those follow-up questions together with the others. And there are also other questions that have been asked by members. And remember, today we only called him on notice, and we will be inviting him again. We allow him probably even not to answer these ones so that we proceed to the other business.
Honorable CS, you will answer to the ones that you can right now, but join that with your closing remarks. Take the shortest time possible. The rest of the questions will be done in the follow-up session. There is nothing out of order. Let the CS make the response.
Honorable Speaker, there definitely are challenges, I have to admit here. There have been challenges in selection of teams representing the country in various activities. And it is important, I will keep on repeating this, it's important that we streamline operations of federations. One of the things that we'll be proposing when we bring a request here for amendment of the Sports Act is to include the entire Article 10 of the Constitution on national values in constitutions of our federations. And on the basis of that, Section 10 on national values, because, Honorable Speaker, every single athlete in this country, across the disciplines, must be afforded the opportunity to compete for the opportunity to represent the country. That has really not been the case. And it is among the issues which we intend to work on keenly as we streamline operations of federations. There is also the question of gender, and I am glad really to inform this House that as a ministry we are very keen on ensuring gender equity in our sports by ensuring that every single opportunity we have involves both genders.
What is out of order, Honorable Ruku?
Madam Speaker, the Minister is talking about keenness, and it is true that the ministry made the President to round Tarenta era when it was not ready. That is not part of keenness. The office of the President must be as cathedral as far as executing the mandate of the office of the President.
Honorable Member, Honorable
and the ministers, and more so.
I hear you. Honorable Member, I hear you, but that issue was already canvassed and responded to. Honorable CS.
Honorable Speaker, should I run over the questions in the last session? Okay. Allow me then very quickly, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. Honorable Fatma, I thank you for your statement. Honorable Alice Nganga, I want to admit that there is a need to communicate more. There is a need to network with members of parliament more robustly, and I want to make an undertaking that that is certainly is an area where the ministry will seek to step up so that there can be more interaction, more communication, more networking with members of parliament. The program that I alluded to of the 2,000 young people from the National Talent Academy is part of the Talanta Hela initiative. And these are young people who were selected by scouts during the school's ball games. And they were selected across 9 disciplines. And they were selected from across the country because this was going on right from the regional level. And they were brought here for training, they were brought here for scouting, and I can combine this answer with a question raised by, I believe it was Honorable Umi, who wanted to know whether this talent academy, which we hosted here, was just an opportunity for young people to come here, or whether there was any deliberate effort for scouting. And I want to assure this House that this National Talent Camp is one of the key deliverables of the Talanta Hela initiative. And I assure this House that the Talanta Hela initiative is actually on and it is rolling. This National Talent Camp, the Talanta Hela Intercounty Football Program, the Creatives Economy Program that is going on, a lot of activities are going on in the Talanta Hela space. And during this talent camp, all federations participated in the various disciplines, rugby, football, and the rest. And the purpose of federations participating is that we wanted them to start selecting players from this level for teams under those federations. For instance, we expect that the Kenya Rugby Union must have identified some young talents for progression to the Kenya Under-20 rugby team. The national team technical benches participated. We had the national coach of the Harambee Starlets, the national football women team. We had the national technical bench of Harambee Stars, and the purpose was to start picking talents at this level. Because for football, for instance, Kenya has never had a national under-15 team or national under-17 or under-19 team. The purpose of this program is to start constructing age-capped teams because that's the best way to feed the national team and ensure that Kenya is supremely competitive. And it is during this program that we also announced that 3 young Kenyans had actually won scholarships to progress to foreign academies. Aldrin Kibet, Alvin Kasavuli, Moses Wamalwa have all been admitted to the NSA Academy in Spain to advance their footballing talents. So the camp is not just about coming together and gathering children together. The camp is actually to provide an ecosystem where they can receive elite training and they can progress to develop their talents to the next level. Quickly to Honorable KJ. Honorable KJ has asked 2 very significant questions. The question on FKF, we are fully aware, Honorable Speaker, on the status of FKF, including the legal conundrum. But we had an arrangement with FIFA, and that arrangement was to progress FKF to a point where they can hold elections, because we have had serious issues in this federation. And I do expect that FKF should hold their elections as scheduled, because that is one way of starting to put the whole footballing ecosystem on a new keel. On the question of Azam TV vis-a-vis KBC, I want to tell this House that again, as part of the monetization agenda of Talanta Hela, we have taken cognizance of the fact that all corporate sponsorship took flight from Kenyan sports. Live broadcasts took flight from football. All the interest that we have had previously in sports has disappeared because of mismanagement, because improper running of this space. But I'm glad to report to this House that a package has been put in place. Allow me not to go into those details because it has not been officially made public, and there are a number of partners involved, but I can confirm to this House that KBC is right at the heart of that program. And we believe that KBC must be afforded opportunity to build its capacity, to become a serious broadcaster. And you must have seen that we gave KBC the opportunity to broadcast the Safari Rally. We gave KBC the opportunity to broadcast the National Ball Games finals in Buhungu. We gave them the rights to do that broadcast live. And we are slowly assisting KBC to build its muscle. It is going to be part of a package that includes two major things. Number one, a sponsorship package that will see money going straight to clubs. And number two, a live broadcast package. Very soon, the details will be made public, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Rindikiri, I got your question on the Kenya Deaf handball team. And the challenge we had with this particular assignment was the visa issuance by the Embassy of Denmark. Among the challenges we face daily is the late processing of requests by federations when they're preparing teams for international assignments. These requests come late. It becomes a big challenge to process funding, and it is an even bigger challenge to deal with visas. And as you know, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, the ministry does not have control over issuance of visa. If you apply late for visa, it becomes extremely difficult for visa to be issued. And this is a matter where we have developed new regulations, and we are planning to have a retreat or a meeting with the federations to share the package we have put together.
What is out of order, Honorable Emase?
No, I have all the speakers. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was just wondering, I want to believe that most of the sporting events are known much in advance for the whole year and even beyond. Is the minister in order to say there is a delay in preparation of the visas, which is without its control, when we know that most of these sporting events at such a time, why can't the visas be prepared in advance? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, definitely calendars of events are normally known, but participation in these events is something that is initiated by the Federation. It's the Federation that is affiliated to the relevant international organization. It's the Federation that gets the right to participate, and it's the Federation that then brings a request. And it is true that more often than not, we receive very, very late requests. And it is something which we have put together a framework to help federations handle this matter a lot more smoothly. Honorable KK, thank you on your statement about Buhungu, and I can confirm that indeed all the drama and film festival, the music festival that we had, the concert in Nakuru today with His Excellency the President, and the ball games were fully funded by this ministry to the tune of 267 million Kenya shillings. And we have worked very, very closely with the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association and the Kenya Primary School Sports Association. And that whole program is part of our rolling out the Talanta Hela initiative. As I have already said, the back end of the Talanta Hela system is something that is being sorted out, and as soon as that is sorted out, then live streaming of that can start right away. Honorable Abu Ahmed, we are aware of the issue you raised on the swimmers that went to Japan, but I also want to make it clear here that the regulations of the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund only allow the ministry to provide support through federations or through associations. It's the body that brings a request. And the challenge we continue to have with swimming is because of this challenge with the federation. As soon as we are able to sort this out, as soon as we are able to agree with the World Aquatics, that the committee we put in place can take responsibility for the swimmers, then it should be possible to offer some support to our swimmers, both for the qualifiers and for the Olympics. And of course, participation in the Olympics is dependent on qualification. Honorable Mutunga, your invitation to the book award, the book launch, I can confirm to you while on my feet that if the book launch is tomorrow, I would be more than glad. I love books. Promotion of the literary arts is one of the areas which we need to improve. And certainly, Kenya could do with more writing, more production of books. And so I'll be more than happy, Honorable Mutunga, to come and join you for the launch of this book. There was a question from Honorable Waluke on the 100 million given to sportsmen, sportswomen, and could this be the source of my my troubles? What I can say is that we have really not treated our sportsmen and women right. You may want to know, honorable members, that the 100 million shillings that Honorable Waluke refers here was largely to, number one, clear outstanding awards going back to the year 2010. There are athletes who competed and represented this country from 2010 and they had not been paid their awards. We were able, honorable members, to clear all that backlog, and we were also able, for the first time in the history of this country, to offer something to our legends. We honored our legends who have competed for this country for the last 60 years. And so I believe that that is a good way of spending money. Our athletes, our sportsmen and women are the goose that lays the golden egg, and we must acknowledge and reward them appropriately. And through the Hongera Awards, we'll continue to do this every single year. Honorable Justice asked a fundamental question. We have lost a hold on some of the events where we have reigned supreme, like the steeplechase. We could only manage a bronze medal yesterday during the steeplechase finals in Budapest. And I want to inform this honorable house that I have sat down with Athletics Kenya and I have challenged them to go back to the drawing board so that we can reclaim our glory in our traditional strong sports. And I am happy to also report that after that engagement, Athletics Kenya has submitted to the ministry a blueprint for youth development requiring 64 million Kenya shillings, which is being considered to go back to primary schools, to go back to the basics. Steeplechase requires special training. Steeplechase requires special equipment. The ministry has accepted to make special investment for Kenya to bounce back in steeplechase, because it's an area where we have definitely lost our way. Honorable member for Keses on Kipchoge. Kipchoge is among the facilities, as I said at the beginning, that our sporting infrastructure had really, really gone under. Until last Saturday, when Kakamega Homeboys played the Libyan team Al Hilal, Kenya did not even have a stadium approved by FIFA or CAF. We had to do emergency rehabilitation on Nyayo to be approved by CAF for that game of Homeboys. We have a master plan, and I would be glad to share with this honorable house that part of the Talanta Hela program is a sports and arts master plan on how to improve our infrastructure. That master plan includes revamping our international stadia so that CAF and FIFA can be comfortable with them. And as you know, we have put in a bid to host the Africa Cup of Nations 2027. We have made tenders for rehabilitation of stadia, and this Kip Keino is among them. These tenders were opened on 17th of this month for rehabilitation of Kasarani, Nyayo, and Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret. As we await this program to start, we were able to do some emergency rehabilitation of Kip Keino, and that is why Kip Keino was able to host the Devolution Conference Games, which again I had the honor to open myself. Honorable Kangombe, when I mentioned the issue of the account, I meant account details given by some of the athletes. There were a bit of issues which are being sorted out, and I believe that money should reach athletes within a week, as I have confirmed here. Concrete measures for swimmers, I have made it very clear here that we want to agree with World Aquatics on a program where we can have a joint effort between World Aquatics and the government of Kenya to resolve these issues. It will be important to get this court case out of court and get these factions on the table so that we can get Kenya Aquatics back on track. Because the people who are suffering are our swimmers and not those who are fighting. Finally, there was a question from the Honorable Chief Whip that was reiterating a question raised by the Honorable Majority Leader, that question on participation in Doha and in Paris. The undertaking I can give, and I have already given, let me reiterate it, is that we want to agree with World Aquatics to accelerate the process of withdrawing this case from court, of getting the elections for Kenya Aquatics done, and getting Kenya Aquatics back to be able to undertake their mandate, because ultimately this is the mandate of Kenya Aquatics. And as we do that, we want to agree with World Aquatics on a framework that could allow our swimmers to compete, even if that process is delayed. That is the best way to support these athletes. Honorable Bensunda, I have prepared all the records of the issues I have referred to, and it is a whole world of records here, including the state of sports as we found it, as we inherited it, and as I've repeatedly said, we found Kenyan sports in a mess, a total mess. The efforts we have made to start revamping infrastructure, to create a pipeline for talents, to monetize the creatives and talents generally, and to just make sure that Kenya maintains her pedigree as a top competing nation. All this is in the records that we have, and we'll gladly leave them here with the Honorable House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. I can note that there are still very many people, or several people, who have follow-up questions. I have noted Honorable Abu, Honorable Irene Mayaka, Honorable Rueda, Honorable Rindikiri, but as the Majority Leader had presented, this will be done in the follow-up session. I will therefore request that we let the CS out at this point so that we can proceed with the business of the House. Honorable Shakil, you've just walked in. You've just walked in. Honorable CS, kindly take your leave. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Order, members.
I hope the Honorable Murugara and Honorable Kimani Kuri are in the house.